Alright, so I'm kind of looking at doing uh, different workflow, essentially. We were doing a high, or a very like low quality workflow and decided we had to start doing a high quality workflow. And I haven't done much high quality workflow. A lot of my stuff has been in VR where it has been lower-ish poly. Some of it has been done higher poly, but not much. So basically I'm creating a sci-fi-ish elevator here, and I'm going to be doing a whole lot of experiments with kind of the best workflow because I am a new user of hard ops, so I'm trying to figure out exactly how that would work in the workflow. I ended up using subdivision though on this model just because hard ops technically works great with boxes, and whereas I could have made a lot of this boxes and just trimmed it out later. Right now it's currently just regular planes. It's not a box, so I end up using subdivision services, and I'll try and point out all my mistakes, as I make them, so that you're not trying to use this video as an authoritative way to do something. But so far, I'm just kind of boxing out what I want the elevator to look like. Um, and it's a freight elevator, which is why it's kind of larger. And I'm using just a regular elevator as kind of a reference and be using some futuristic quote unquote materials. I don't know what I'm doing here. Basically, delete that and just go back to using fatten to fatten that up. And I'm putting materials in here to use as an ID map in Substance Painter, since that's kind of, I could do vertex painting. I haven't really tried that yet, but that would probably be easier. So what I would recommend doing, which is what I'm not doing, is and this is where I try box cutter. It just does not like planes. I haven't really. So I'll just cut in a few grooves and stuff like that using box cutter. Yeah, UV unwrapping this as you go. We will be adding subdivision on top of this, but should be a big deal. Excuse me, it's getting late here. Um, here I am. Oh, well, does this work? Does this work? Does this work? But I will be hopefully doing a video later using box cutter to actually model things. Hopefully not having so many problems with it like I am here, since I'll be hopefully using it, in boxes, on boxes. I'm like, oh, what is this? Is something wrong? No, look at that. No, it works just fine with boxes. But uh, but yeah, so I have a trim and I have that, and now I'm trying to do, still trying. So I think I eventually give up at some point. So move on to subdivisions. Doing Booleans still. Uh, and yeah, here's where I move on to subdivision. Just start tightening all that up. Now, if I had UV unwrapped this before I had started using subdivision, that would have been a lot better. So, and this is actually going to be a window that you can look out of. So I'm having a whole bunch of trouble trying to get, because there's always trouble with UV unwrapping and all that sort of thing when you have like a double enclosed area there. So really trying to get the thing cut out and pasted back together in a way that doesn't make the subdivision look weird. As you can see, it's not exactly working out well. Subdivision is hard. A lot of times you got to really look at where your vertices are. I say that like I'm an expert and know what I'm talking about. I don't really, but and again, setting materials, although I end up not exactly using those. So just setting all my holding edges, and notice I'm just doing the base elevator for now. I'll be I'm trying to think about the best way to add all the details in, because I have a high poly model and I might add it all into that. and then try and bake down a lot of it. But we're still kind of, or I'm still kind of thinking about how best to do that. Or it might be separate models that I'll assemble in engine and just kind of slap together as a merged mesh or whatever. Because I do think technically we'll be interacting with the buttons on the elevator, so it probably should be a separate mesh. So, but other details like lights, you know what, those are gonna be separate meshes too. So I might just be adding a bunch of stuff in Substance Painter since that's where this is going after this. So, because I can do a lot of normal stamps and stuff like that in there, and it looks decent, not quite as well as if you're modeling it in here and then baking out the normals, but oh yeah, and I have a handrail here that I actually was going to join, but then I thought I'd have it separate. Excuse me. Thought I'd have it separate and yeah, and just export it out, and then just kind of they could have more handrails than just one if they really wanted to in engine, give them some flexibility. So I don't know why I even made this one high poly. It's a super simple little mesh. There's no reason for it to be high poly. Again, I really should have UV unwrapped this. That was the biggest thing. Because you'll see what I go through to UV unwrap it and what I end up doing to UV unwrap it. And it's not pretty, so. Well, it's me doing more of my edge tightening. Let me see. So I'll be showing with hard surface, you can retopologize, and I have retopoflow, which I could have tried to use here, but I ended up going with just decimating the mesh. Kind of a manual process, but decimating that down. Um, and I think what I'm doing now is fixing the stuff I decimated. As you can see, this is the low poly version of things now. Basically, I just duplicated the high poly and then decimated, and that, as you can see, caused some non-quads. And this is not going to be animated or anything, you know, it's just static mesh. So it doesn't matter if it's got n-gons and stuff like that. And then just trying to UV unwrap this, set materials, and fix up all the topology. You notice there, because it decimated the thing there, and for some reason I'm using the F key instead of the J key. I guess I forgot. The F key does not create a new mesh or a new face off of that, so J key between vertices to do that. And so just kind of cleaning that up so that I can have a clean cut. And a lot of this really wouldn't be seen by the player that much, but oh well, worth it to actually make it look good. And this one does have an odd topology, and so that's why it really should have been custom UV unwrapped, which I end up just unwrapping it using the automated method, which I'm not a huge fan of. And here I was trying to clean up the mesh a little bit and just made it worse, I think, overall. But then I had to fix it, so I really got to think about like a snapshot. If there's a snapshot manager in Blender where you're just like, oh, let me, well, it would have to be an automated process because who knows when you're going to mess up and when you're going to realize it. I'm sure there's autosave, but I'd like a snapshot manager, make it easier. But here I am just redoing topology. This took way too long. Like I should have created the base mesh and then duplicated it much early much earlier, and then just been careful about what exactly I was topologizing on the other mesh. So, and then I'm just removing a lot of vertex for this. I was trying to do the checker deselect on all of those that I had selected at once, but I had to do it pole by pole, so, and then just decimating it manually here. So that'll be low poly when I put it in, and just bake the high poly to it. Kind of go on from there. So, but this whole process, I think, like I said at the beginning, took about 3 hours, so it was major overkill for what I was doing. So, but it was a learning process, and I'm still getting used to the whole high poly to low poly bake and all that. So, just getting this ready for UV unwrapping and texturing. Let me see, what else can I say? Yeah, so UV unwrapping, if like what ends up happening is that it gets kind of ripped in the wrong place, so you'll see some of the tiling that you shouldn't have if you do this right. So, but it's not really a huge deal, I don't think, when we see the finished project. So, and here's the start of my unfortunate UV unwrapping. I'm doing a lot of select similar because a lot of those are pretty similar, and then trying to write in the UVs, or mark the UVs right there. So, but some of them are too similar. You can turn the threshold down of how similar, but that doesn't always really help. Especially if, like me, like I was doing currently, I was way too freestyle on it. As you can see, there's a lot of UV issues, some of it near the door, some of it, you know, most of it near the door, some of it near the panels, and the panels just having a bunch of issues. Here's my painful attempt to try and fix all this. And if you do like box cutter and bevel it and all that, and then try and UV unwrap it, this is what you'll get as well, which, as I was told, please don't do that. Just do a base mesh with the deep cuts and everything, and then duplicate that, use that to UV unwrap, and then bake out and then do the bevel, the bake, and all that sort of thing on the high poly. And do like the minor cuts, the stuff that you can do, that you can fake well with normals, because you can't fake deep cuts well with normals. So it should have been obvious to me, but oh well. When we hopefully do another part of this tutorial, I'll be doing box cutter, and we can try and figure out what the right balance is to bake versus cut in. So, because even if when you do cut in large holes, you'll still get crazy topology. And you do have to be careful about how you unwrap that, because it'll be a pain. But hey, I didn't do any crazy. Well, there was a decent amount of crazy topology because I did do the decimate function. Here's where I just give up and say, hey, why don't I just? And some of that is completely screwed up, but it's on the outside. So, so basically, I just accept that that's going to be my UVs, and now just trying to get I mess up the origin point on this, so you'll see kind of the result of that. Never realized how difficult it was to get the texture point the same for both high poly and low poly. So I'm in Substance and get the low poly in. Then I'm going to export the high poly, and then I'm going to realize something went terribly wrong. When I look at it, I'm like, oh, this is just crazy weird. So now I'm going back and looking at it like, what's going on here? So, and then I noticed it's just slightly off, just a little bit off, where you can kind of see the edge of it. So, like, well, these are not lined up correctly. So then I'm going back and I'm trying to reset origin points and trying to get them so they line up correctly. And then I realized that I had applied the freaking modifiers. So after that, I have to go back and reload an older version of Blender, or the Blender save file, and basically just resetting all this stuff. So re-exporting. Do. All right, then we're back in here. When I'm getting materials ready, kind of do like a silver edgeway on the middle and top. And I'm like, ooh, leather. Let's try that. I was like, I don't think that's right for the theme we're going for. There's not a whole lot of leather, so I'm sitting there. Laminate. For some reason, laminate. They don't have anything under laminate. And I see some later. It's like laminate spelled wrong. So, but and I could do some more searching around. I don't have access to Designer currently. I just have Painter. So, and they're expensive. So I decided to get one of them because I really couldn't do things without Painter. That's kind of a requirement for me. So I'm importing a few textures I think might be a super good idea. And so, yep, just doing tiles for that. Doing, fairly small mosaic style tiles for that. I think that looks nice. And then changing the color of the silver accents to try and distinguish it just a little bit from the tiling, but I'm gonna have to go back and do that. And then I have glass in there, and I have to switch over and add an opacity channel, and I think that's probably acceptable. It has a kind of a tile look to it, but I was like, oh, let's do wood for these panels. And I was like, no, let's not do wood. That nothing even came close to looking good. So I'm kind of messing around and get to a blue tinted thing here that I think looks decent. I'm like, all right, and then I'm doing steel for the rest of this, black steel. So like that'll kind of do it for me.